Hello and welcome to the first in a series of tutorial videos on Neon, my new sample editor and clip launcher for iOS. Now in this video I want to go over the interface and mainly a few tricks and tips that are really useful but you may not stumble on by accident. They're hidden away, and if you're one of them people that doesn't like to read the manual, this is for you. So we're going to start with the media bay because that's probably the one most important part of this app. It's where we get our files in and out of the app. And there are a lot of little tricks and tips regarding the media bay which I want to show you now. So if you click in the show files button in the top right corner, we get this files area at the bottom of the screen. This is where we import and export files. As you can see here, we have files and folders in here. You can freely create your own directory structures and organize files in here the way you like. Now you'll also notice that there are actually two tabs here. There is an audio pool tab and there is also an exported tab. Now any files imported or dragged and dropped into the audio pool tab are automatically converted into uncompressed WAV format, which we use for editing and clip launching because they don't need decompressing in real time. The exported tab is where we drop files or export files of different formats. So we've got FLAC files, M4A files, MP3 files and so on within here. And whenever we try and load a file in there, it's imported into the audio pool tab, and we directly perform edits on that. Now we have the ability to import and export from the Files app, from Audio Share, and we also have a Share tab here which allows us to select a file and hit the Share button and directly export to an app. Now that's all well and good, but as you've noticed here, it's almost like Media Bay is kind of the central storage place for any files we want to work on. And if we're spending any amount of time in here, we might want to maximize this interface to actually get a better look at the directory structures and do file maintenance. So with a simple swipe of my mouse or finger, we can expand and close down the media bay just by swiping up and down on the toolbar. Now to make Neon even more accessible to other apps, in version 1.01, the second version to be released, it will even support side-by-side mode and slide over if required. So you can actually use this to drag and drop files between Neon and say the Files app or other apps if they also support side-by-side or slide over modes. So as I say, that's a new feature coming in the next version, so I'm just giving you a little peek preview. So as you saw there, in standalone mode we have these two additional modes here for file management. But what about when we run in as an AU-v3 plugin? So let's take a look at that. So here you can see we have a couple of instances of Neon running under AUM. And the first thing I want to show you is a neat little trick using the clipboard. Now normally you click on the clipboard, you get cut, copy, paste, duplicate, merge and so on. But notice some icons have a little triangular chevron thing in the top left corner, and that signifies that if you tap and hold on that button it shows additional options. For instance, we've got a selection here. If I tap and hold on zoom, it zooms to selection. Just one of the many little tricks that are hidden away. But you'll love this trick. If I set the snap to quarter notes, I can accurately snap the first two beats of this 125 beats per minute sample, and if I tap hold on the clipboard button, watch what happens. We can now drag that selection into another instance of Neon. We could quite easily drag that selection into another app, anything that can accept drag and drop. If we don't have a selection, it copies the entire file. So that's just long pressing on the clipboard button. So as I mentioned, if you've got other apps that support split view or slide over, like the Files app, it's very easy to drag and drop selections from your editor directly into those apps. As I'm going to do now, I'm going to take the first couple of bars again and just drag and drop into the Files app. Simple as that. So as you know, Neon can also be used as a clip launcher, and you can see here I have 3 instances of Neon, and in this instance I have a sample loaded. But if you want to preview a sample, you can just tap twice in the media bay window on the file of choice, and you notice that a little right-facing triangle appears to the right of that list. And when that triangle is on display, you can move between files and the preview continues. Obviously, when you find a file of choice, you either hit the load button, or alternatively, we can drag and drop directly into the editor or into any app or location that supports drag and drop. Now, I didn't really want the file. Let's just find a more suitable one, because I think I've already got that one loaded. Let's just find one I had previously. I think that might be it. So let's just load that one. Now this folder I'm pulling the samples out contains a bunch of loops that are all 125 beats per minute, and they can be looped, perfectly looped. Now if you press and hold on the loop button, not only does it turn loop mode on, but when you tap and hold, it actually automatically selects the entire range of that sample. So I'm just checking that they're all looped, and they are. So now when I start the AUM host transport, I can start and stop any of these instances of Neon just by clipping on the launch button to the left of that channel. Now Neon picks up the tempo automatically from the host, so and the time signature, so it knows exactly when to start and stop on a bar boundary. Now you can start and stop non-looped samples, and they will just play until completed or until you decide to stop them. Now Neon does take MIDI inputs, so if you prefer, you can actually start and stop the samples using a MIDI note from an external keyboard or app. And in order to configure each instance of Neon, just tap on the menu and select Launch Options. And in here we can select a MIDI key, a channel and a mode. Toggle just toggles the playback on and off. There's another mode called Gate, which plays while the key is held, so the choice is yours. Now as you can see here, I have a copy of Neon loaded in an effects slot and a copy of Digistix running in the instrument slot, and I want to demonstrate how to piece together your own loops using little snippets of recorded data. Now if you're running under AUM, it's always a good idea to name your tracks and colour code them, especially if you're using the clip launcher. So that facility is here and available for you at any time, so it's quite a useful feature. So to demonstrate this feature, I have a simple bass and snare drum going in Digistix. If I play that back, you'll hear. Now I've purposely made that very simple. As you can see, it's just an alternating bass snare, but I'm going to record a little section of that and then try and append something to the end of it. So the first thing I'm going to do is head to the settings and turn the append mode on. Now because host sync mode is enabled, when I hit the record button, it's just going to sit there waiting for me to press play on the host transport, and then it'll start recording. But there's a few extra steps we can do to simplify the task of recording loops. And the first one is to long press on the record button and select this option, which allows us to record when we exceed a threshold, and that threshold can be set by moving this little slider on the VU meter. So I'll set it right at the bottom there. Now also, if we long press, we can click the option to set a record length, and I'm going to set it to 16 beats, so it will record 16 beats and then stop. Now I'm going to enable record, and I'm going to start the host transport playback, which will start Digistix playing that simple beat. and Neon will begin recording and will stop recording when it hits the 16th beat. So okay, we've got our loop in Neon. Now let's just have a look at it. Now because we used threshold detection, we probably ended up with a little bit on the end here that we don't need. Let's just have a look. Yeah, we got the start, I think, of another bass drum, which we can remove quite easily. All we need to do here is just to turn off the grid, and we can select that little bit of additional sample at the end that we don't want. We can just press the operation button and select clear, and that's our sample. So now if we tap and hold the loop button, it will turn on loop mode and select all the sample. Saves us doing it manually, and then we can just preview it to make sure everything's okay. Just make sure that you've turned off the host sync at this point, otherwise the local transport will not work. And once you've confirmed it's looping okay, we can now go on to the second part of this recording. Now the important thing here is to go into the settings and ensure that append recordings is turned on. Now again, I'm long pressing the record button just to make sure the record options are the same as last time. And now I'm going to return to Digisticks, and I'm just going to add some closed and open hi-hats to that, just to give it a little bit of flavour. And what we're going to do is we're going to record this and append it to the end of what we've already got. Now one little trick here is if we hit the rewind button, we rewind to the beginning, but if we tap and hold the rewind button, we place the cursor at the end. It's not so important here because the append automatically does that for us. So all I'm going to do now is just hit the record and start AUM transport, and that will play that new loop with the hi-hats, and that will be recorded directly on the end of what we've currently got. And again, after 16 beats, recording will stop. Now if we tap and hold the loop button, we can select everything in that loop and play it back. Now the great thing about using a record limit is that we can actually record loops that are sample accurate, so they're exactly the right size, so they should loop perfectly. You might need to do a little bit of tidying up here and there if you're using that beat detection to start the recording, but on the whole it's a very easy way to piece together multiple parts of a puzzle and create some quite interesting loops to use in launch mode. Now while we have this loop in here, it might be an idea to show you me applying, say, some reverb to the snare on this little sequence. If I just play it, find out where the snare is, so that obviously the second little spike on there is a snare, so I'm just going to set an appropriate grid size and make a selection of just the snare. Now if I tap on the operations button and pick apply effect, I have a whole list of effects to choose from, and I'm going to pick the reverb. Now to preview the reverb, we need to turn on preview mode, so I'm going to start that loop and then hit preview, and then turn it up a little bit so that we can hear the reverb. And then when we've found something we like, I can just stop that and hit the apply button. Now I don't want that to be overkill, but notice when I do hit the apply button that the effect actually exists and trails off beyond that selection. If you were affecting a whole file, a whole sample, there was an option in that dialog to add padding to the end of the sample so that we could render the delay trails. So let's take that a step further and add a delay to the second snare. So I'm just going to select the delay. Now normally I press the operations button and then pick the apply effect, but if you tap and hold the operations button, you can go directly to that effect screen. Now I'm going to turn preview on, find some parameters that seem to work nicely, and when I'm happy I'll hit the apply button. So we're now done with the effects, so we can close that down, remove the loop and just preview what we've recorded. Now several people have asked me if it's possible to actually do sample level editing, and so I'll say yes, it is. let me just zoom in here. When you get into a specific zoom level, you'll notice that we actually get little dots on the on the screen, and they represent individual samples. So if we select the edit tool from the left toolbar, we can now just drag across the screen to edit those values, those pixel values. So yeah, you can edit at sample level, and obviously you've got the 24 level undo on that, I think. Okay, now to finish off this video, I want to take a look at the warp mode, and I'm going to use the file we've created here and try and use that to sync to different tempos. So since we've added effects to the beginning of this sample, I'm just going to take the beginning section and I'm going to crop that down. Now, as you can see there, we have a little bit of fluff on the end. So as usual, just zoom in, make sure you've got the selection tool selected, turn off your grid, and then just use the clear to get rid of that little bit of fluff. So now we should have a nice little loop. I can tap and hold on the loop button to set the loop up. Now I've long pressed the warp button there, and I'm going to set up the original tempo, which was 125 beats per minute, and I'm going to turn warp mode on. Now if I start playback of the host, I'll make sure that host sync is on. Right now it's synced up at 125, just as we expect, but when we change the tempo of the host, we could drop that tempo down. So 110 beats per minute, let's try that. Now please bear in mind that Neon always takes on the tempo of the host application, which we currently set to 135 beats per minute. Because of that, we now need to reselect the loop because the timeline's changed. So just tap and hold the loop button to reselect everything. So that just about concludes this hints and tips tutorial on Neon. There'll be plenty more tutorials to come, so look out for them. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and obviously if you haven't, subscribe to the channel. So thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.